This is Crimson, or Crim for short. Crim is a character that I created from an idea back in 2015 with my very first project. This project not having much but served as basic functions for player movement with only running and jumping. I started using Unity and Blender while I was taking electrical engineering at Southwest Community College. While messing around with the project for a month or so, I decided to create a new project with the same character, only this time he can shoot. Although a nearly finished project, the game was still buggy and unpolished. Take this as an example, being invulnerable after receiving damage. I could not for the life of me figure out how to make the player character not take damage at the time. Later on, when I started working on a third version of the project, I figured it out, and now I can make the player invulnerable as long as I would like. With my very limited knowledge in coding and programming, all which came from learning Unity, I decided to take a break from the project and work on little things in the meantime. During this time, I was learning how Unity's UI worked, Microsoft Visual Studio since I was using MonoDevelop, which was Unity's default coding program at the time, and many other things like transferring data between scenes and scriptable objects. Now, it wasn't until recently that I learned how to utilize scriptable objects. For now, I've been using them to create power-ups and items for the player to collect. Once the player collects them, they will be saved for the next time the current game is loaded. I also made it where they get reset when a new game starts. While there is a good bit of content in the game for a solo project, I could easily turn this into a very short game that could take about 15 minutes to complete, or 4 hours depending on how difficult the game is and how familiar the player is with the game mechanics and level design. But what I would like to do is add more bosses and enemies to the game, and rework some of the enemies themselves. Just look at this guy. I have not touched him since he was created. He's very buggy, linear, and doesn't really do much. He just kind of sits there. But what I would like to do for this enemy is have him continue flying by the player without stopping. So kind of like a one hit and he's just gone after that. It could be easily avoidable by the player jumping over, but it could be a surprise if the player is unaware of his placements. For the current state of the game, it still remains vastly unfinished. I still need to create more assets, levels, enemies, make a story, create or find proper sound effects, and lots more. But I have a solid base for this game and satisfied with the direction it's going. For something that I've been working on for 2 months while working at a steady job, it's been a pleasant experience so far.